All right, welcome again. Like I said, my name is Benji Cohn with Minnesota DNR. Welcome to the Moss program. Couple announcements before we get started here while Carly pulls that up. We have a Q&A section on the lower right-hand side of your screen. If you have any questions, please enter them in there. It's a lot easier for us to track the Q&A through that Q&A option. There is also a chat option in there, and we will put some links, any links that Carly or Claire mentioned, we'll add to the chat option so you can click on those and they'll open up in your browser. And just in case anybody needs a multimedia viewer, that is also in the lower right-hand side. If you click on that, it'll bring you to an external site where you can follow along and read along, thanks to Caption Max for doing that for us. So I think with that, we got quite an audience strolling in here. So I'll turn it over to you, Carly. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you, Benji. And you can hear me all right?
Sounds good.
All right. Uh, I'll start you all out with a question to think about, to put in your thought box. What's the difference between a rabbit's foot and a deer's foot? Which one can run easier on the snow? Well, rabbits have wide, flat feet that helps distribute their weight evenly across the snow's surface, whereas a deer's foot is small and doesn't distribute their weight at all. So deer sink straight through the snow, and just as we do, and we get completely exhausted trying to move through that snow. Rabbits are much better adapted for winter walking than deer because they have different adaptations. People had to make their own adaptations for walking on the snow. Uh, with snowshoes, your feet basically cover a larger area, and that helps to distribute or spread out a person's weight so that you don't sink so far into the snow. Early Native Americans are considered the first to fashion together the traditional webbed snowshoe, and long ago this played an important role for survival as snowshoes made traveling and hunting much, much easier. So, what started thousands of years ago as an essential mode of winter transportation has turned into a popular recreational activity. And today, snowshoes are used mostly for winter hiking and exploring nature. They require very little maintenance. They're a fun outdoor social activity and a great form of exercise. And basically, the only required gear is a pair of snowshoes and appropriate winter attire. So, suitable boots and socks are important. Snowshoes have they have bindings on them that hold your foot to the snowshoe. Those bindings will adjust, so nearly any winter boot should fit. Insulated and waterproof boots are probably the best. Thick wool socks are good also for helping to wick away any moisture and keeping your feet dry as well. So basically, you want comfortably warm and dry feet. And that, of course, goes for the rest of you also. So dressing in layers, that's always a good idea when exercising outdoors. So then you can adjust your clothing to suit your activity level and the weather. So ideally, you should probably avoid cotton because cotton can get soaked as you perspire and ultimately will give you a chill. So instead, maybe consider using synthetics or wool styles because they will wick away moisture and retain warmth even as you perspire. So it's just a good idea to have that base layer, the mid layer, and the outer layer. So, think of long underwear as the base layer, and then maybe your trusty old wool sweater or a polyester fleece sweatshirt, and then the waterproof breathable shell jacket and pants. Um, let's see, water. Water is always a good idea to bring with. Snowshoeing is a great form of aerobic exercise. And even if it is cold, you can work up a sweat by snowshoeing. So, snowshoeing on a snow packed trail can burn about 450 calories. So it's important to stay hydrated, and it's always fun to stop and have a short snack break too. Sunglasses too. Sunglasses would be important also, because walking out there with the vast amounts of bright white snow can take a toll on your eyes. So sunglasses. Let's see, a small backpack would be helpful when you're out snowshoeing, especially, I guess, if you're out on longer trails, to carry your items. Um, Trekking poles, or just even a ski pole or a hiking pole. I personally don't use poles when I'm snowshoeing, but my husband has used them once in a while. So it's just optional. It's basically your own preference. The poles are helpful for balance, and they also help give your upper body more of a workout too. So there's a little extra bonus with that. And then, of course, the snowshoes and the bindings. Um, the selection of different snowshoe styles has definitely increased over the past couple of decades. So you not only have the various traditional wooden snowshoes, but also the newer versions of the bear paw style. Typically, those are made out of aluminum, and those would be known as urban snowshoes. So choosing what kind of snowshoe would depend on your purpose and the location you're in, as well as the snow conditions. The choices of urban snowshoes can be a little overwhelming, since there are so many types out there now. I have found a couple of helpful online blogs from people. Um, so they try out different snowshoes for adults or for kids, and then they give out their input and reviews. So those can be helpful resources when you're deciding if you're going to purchase a specific type. You can also rent snowshoes from many state parks and outdoor suppliers. So you can try different styles and brands that they might, have available for rent. And then, so just remember that snowshoes help to spread out or distribute your weight to keep you from sinking, knee deep in that snow. The taller and heavier you are, the bigger the snowshoe you'll need. Um, so especially for deep or light snow, larger snowshoes work best. Um, Whereas like on hard packed snow, the smaller ones would do just fine. You really don't have to buy two different types of snowshoes, but maybe just keep that in mind for whether you'll be sticking mostly to the trails or heading off trail or out on some really cool, amazing big mountain adventure, or even doing trail running with them, so that there are specific snowshoes for trail running as well. Each brand or style of snowshoe, there, there just seems to be just as many types of bindings with them. It seems that every brand of urban snowshoe has their own unique binding system. And then the traditional wooden snowshoe bindings are typically either the A style binding, which is the photo on the top left, or the H style binding on the bottom left. Many kid-sized snowshoe bindings have really improved to make it very easy for the child to put them on or take them off themselves, um, even with mittens on. So let's see, what's the trick to putting these on anyway? So you first want to loosen the straps and unclip the buckles on the bindings. Um, Left foot versus right foot. Typically, the buckle for the heel straps are on the outside of your foot or ankle. And then there's a toe hole. So there's this hole in the snowshoe where your toe should move in and out. So basically, put your toe, your boot toe into the binding and scoot or move your toes up so that they are in the middle of that snowshoe's toe hole. So the front of your boot will then flex in and out of that hole as you step. If your foot is too far forward, your toes or your boot will get kind of hung up or tripped up against the top of the hole. If they're too far back from the middle, that will likely cause some balance issues and probably a lot of frustration as well. So you want your toes to be positioned in the middle of that snowshoe's toe hole. And then the binding straps. So all the bindings are a bit different, but they all have a heel strap that goes around the back of your boot and one or two straps that go over the top of your foot, over your toes and the bridge of your foot. So first fasten the straps over the top of your foot and then tighten the heel strap behind your heel. The more secure it's fastened, the more control you'll have with your snowshoe. And, you know, you want them snug, I guess, but not too tight. So basically your foot inside the binding will be like steering wheels for the snowshoe. And then the key to walking in snowshoes is to just try to walk naturally. You're just barely lifting the snowshoes so they don't rub together. So you basically shuffle the snowshoe across the ground, and as you're doing that, the tail of the snowshoe drags behind you. And then keep your knees bent and just stand up straight and relax. This is fun. It's so much fun to go snowshoeing. So just relax and try to walk naturally. If you are walking out with other people, it's a good idea to try and give each other some room between you and the next person in front of you, and that will help prevent some stepping on someone else's snowshoes, which has happened more than once. Um, so on hills and ice, so especially the aluminum or the urban snowshoes, they have built-in metal claws or teeth on the bottom under the foot. And their purpose is basically to keep you from slipping and sliding, which can be very helpful going up or down a hill or on any icy, surfaces. So they're actually pretty helpful for that. And then just to keep in mind, not to try not to bridge your snowshoe. So meaning, forming a bridge with your snowshoe over objects that have fallen on the ground. So such as, a fallen log or even a snowbank. So that, basically there's nothing underneath your foot holding you up. The snowshoe isn't strong enough for that. It's really not meant to be used like that. So just to be aware, try not to bridge your snowshoe when you're walking through the woods. And also pavement is another thing to keep in mind. Sometimes you have to cross over some pavement, a parking lot or a road to get to the start of that trail. And pavement rapidly wears out the bindings and the frames and laces. So if you do need to cross over pavement or cement, I always tell people that it helps to raise your foot higher and then bring it straight down on your next step so that the snowshoe won't drag or shuffle across the pavement so much to prevent on that wear and tear. Several Minnesota state parks have naturalists that offer free snowshoe hike programs, and they're geared for beginner snowshoers. And then, the naturalist will show participants the how-tos before heading out on that trail. So we'll have a link to this calendar of events page on our website that shows different programs and events that are going on within our state parks. If you don't have your own snowshoes, you can borrow a pair for the naturalist programs. And otherwise, many state parks have snowshoes that you can rent also, and then you could actually venture out down the snowshoe trail on your own, without, being part of a specific program. Um, you can find designated snowshoe trails within the park, and they are marked. Um, they eventually become a nice packed down path after a few people are on it. Or, you could make your own path off the trail and explore the different habitats of the park. Although, if you're doing that, just, I guess, be particularly observant of where you are as you're out there. You can get easily turned around by doing that, but you can always follow those Bigfoot tracks back, right? so so just be mindful of your surroundings. One important thing to remember too when you are out snowshoeing is to stay off the groomed ski trails. Some parks don't want snowshoers on the trail at all if the trail is groomed for skiing. So, make sure you know that what the situation is regarding that. But regardless, it's just proper etiquette to stay off the groomed ski tracks, so that, we can both enjoy our winter recreation fun with big smiles. And besides state parks, other areas to try out your big feet might be at wildlife areas or scientific and natural areas, at county parks or city parks, or along the like multi-purpose state trails. Of course, with those state trails, you want to be cautious and listen for snowmobilers, or I guess the same would go with fat tire bike trails too, to move over and off the trail for them. Uh, and also just make a note to allow more time while you're snowshoeing. Keep in mind the shorter daylight hours and the temperature and wind chill factor. Um, and just the fact you're out snowshoeing, you're going to be slow, walking slower with snowshoes. So, snowshoeing is a wonderful winter recreation activity to help us to slow down and pause and discover what's out there on that winter landscape. Using your senses and your observations, we can really discover the beauty of this coldest season of the year by staying on top of the snow. So, on that note, we will see you all outside.
It's great, Carly. Thanks for doing that. We had
You're
a
welcome.
we did have one question. I'm going to slide the presenter role down to Claire here and let her pull her presentation up. Um, as a side note, I had a wonderful adventure up north last weekend. Went up to see the John Beargreave sled dog race and got to stop by Jay Cooke State Park and do a snowshoe hike with my family and Claire in one of her programs or Carly in one of her programs she was doing there. So it was wonderful. And we did have one question in the chat there about skin protection or face protection and suntan lotion in the winter. So I'll let you address that real quick before we jump on to cross country skiing.
All right. Well, yeah, sun protection. I guess, so personally, for skin, I guess personally, I'm not exposing a whole lot of skin while I'm out there because I have the hats on and the mittens and literally my scarf is pulled up to my nose, and hat down to my eyebrows. But I guess I've never, even on a really nice, warm, like March winter day when I'm out there and maybe have taken a few of those layers off, I've never really had a problem with, getting a whole lot of uh, sun harmful sun on my skin. As far as my eyes, though, I have definitely, put the sunglasses on um, most of the time to keep my eyes from getting that sun blindness. I've seen some people also, whether they have a snow hat on or not, a winter hat on or not, maybe they put a baseball cap on first and then their snow hat. So it's just an extra visor to block out the albedo effect of the sun's rays bouncing off that bright, bright snow.
Great. As a person that's had snow blindness before, it's no fun. So wear your sunglasses.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you for that.
yeah.
Claire's joining us from the Loppet Foundation, so I'll let you introduce yourself and we'll talk some cross country skiing.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. And Carly, that was awesome. I'm looking out at a blanket of snow right now and just feeling so excited. So hi, I'm Claire Wilson. I'm the executive director of the Loppet Foundation. We are a nonprofit located in the heart of Minneapolis, Minnesota, in Theodore Wirth Park, which is a amazing urban park about the size of Central Park in New York. And we are committed to creating a shared passion for the outdoors. And we are rooted and have our history in and started as an organization that promotes cross country skiing. So I am particularly excited to talk to you all today about cross country skiing and why it is so awesome. And I will just tell you for context that I am a Southerner, Louisiana born and bred, and still this is my most favorite activity of any season ever in the world. Cross country skiing is the best. So, why? It allows you to experience the outdoors in winter. And frankly, if you're living here in the Midwest, I don't know why you're not enjoying the winter. You just should be. There was recently an article in the New York Times that talked about the fact that cross country skiers, in particular, have lower examples of anxiety disorder or, less issues with anxiety disorders than the majority of the population. And we've seen that to be especially true in COVID times. If you can get outside and you can get physically active, it greatly increases your enjoyment of winter and also just your enjoyment of daily life. And similar to snowshoeing, cross country skiing is a way to get out and really be outdoors and present in a way that allows you to be a part of a silent sport and a part of your surroundings in a very special way. And Minnesota, of course, we have some of the best Nordic trails in the nation. As a matter of fact, the trails right here at Theodore Wirth Park were just named by Outside Magazine as one of the top 6 places to ski in the country. And of course, our amazing state park system offers multitudes of opportunities to ski. And then finally, it is really easy to learn. And with minimal investment, it is something that you can enjoy for a lifetime. We have skiers, I'm looking outside right now at skiers who are as young as 3 and as old as in their 90s. So really, it is a very gentle sport that allows you to continue it for as long as you really want to experience it. So there are, oh, oops, why am I not able to move that? Oh, there we go. There are basically 2 types of cross country skiing. The first is the one that, and there on your left, which is maybe the one you're the most familiar with, which is the classic form, or what we sort of traditionally consider Nordic skiing. And that is striding, right? It's sort of what you picture when you imagine a skier. But we also, in recent years, have seen an explosion in the popularity of skate skiing, which is a freestyle technique with a side to side motion and a little bit unlike snowshoeing. Cross country skiing is a little bit more complicated to kind of teach by example during a webinar, but if you can imagine, it is more of a side to side gliding motion. And it does. I will cop to the fact that it is a steeper learning curve. It takes a while to learn the transfer weight that makes for a successful skate skiing adventure. But once you've kind of put in that time to learn how to execute the technique, it is extraordinarily fun, and we are seeing it becoming more and more popular, particularly with our kiddos. Um, the equipment that you need to ski is, maybe a little bit more extensive than snowshoeing, but still completely doable. And it is really key to the success of your experience. You want to have some good equipment that is well fitted to you. So I would really encourage, if you don't have equipment, to try renting equipment before you commit to buying it. It'll just give you an opportunity to, see how it feels on you and see which of the techniques you enjoy the most. Most places right now, and when I say places, I of course mean parks, rec centers, do rent skis, and increasingly more are renting skate skis. And they will ask for, your boot size, your height, and typically your weight. And so the boots, that's just your regular boot size. And the way that cross country ski boots fit is that if you're going to have a classic experience or the traditional, those boots are going to be a little bit more flexible. They're really similar to any boot that you would be wearing now, with the exception that they clip into the binding of the ski. And unlike alpine skiing, with Nordic skiing, your foot is free. You're bound by the toe, but not by the ankle. And that allows you to transfer your weight and move a little more naturally. So your boot should fit just as a regular boot fits, but for the classic experience, it's going to be very flexible. For the skate experience, because you are maneuvering your weight back and forth, that boot is a little stiffer. It has a cuff that kind of holds your ankle in place so that you can um, basically push off of the ski. Your poles for the striding technique should come up to about your shoulder, just to make for a comfortable striding motion. And then for skate skiing, your poles should come about up to your chin. And that's because you're really using them more for propulsion. And typically they're just far more comfortable for you if they are taller than your classic poles. And skis, there are a variety of types of skis, and we'll talk a little bit more about those in each of the techniques. But essentially, you can get wax skis, meaning they already have a kick zone prepared for you. Skate skis, which have all glide zone, and then skins, which are new, which essentially have some skin in the area where you're going to kick. And so we'll go into that right now. So, classic skiing. Again, it's kind of what your mind pictures when you think about cross-country skiing. So in order to go classic skiing, you really need groomed tracks. And those are, again, what you sort of think of as traditional cross-country ski tracks. The great thing about classic skiing is you can make your own tracks. So you don't necessarily need there to be a groomed trail to enjoy classic skiing. But many people feel more comfortable in the tracks. It provides them a little bit of stability. So before you go out, if you're going to go classic skiing, you go and check the trail reports, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a bit. But what you're going to really look for is a report that says the course is groomed and tracked, because tracks are what you ski in when you classic ski. So check for a groomed and tracked course. Now, with classic skiing, you are dependent on transferring from ski to ski and kicking off in sort of the similar way that you would run or stride. So your skis are waxed differently. They're waxed in the glide zone, or the area where you're not needing grip to allow you to glide. But in the area where you need grip, so meaning where you need to be able to push off so that you can keep your forward propulsion, there's a variety of ways you can achieve that grip. So most of us are very familiar with fish scale skis. That's the one on the bottom there that says track crown. Those have a little kick zone already made for you. There's little grooves so you can push off quite easily. Now you do need the ski to fit your weight, because whether or not it grips the snow is going to be dependent on whether or not the camber of that ski is fitted to your weight. So don't lie about your weight when you go to rent your skis. Just be upfront because you're going to have a much better experience if that ski fits your weight. Now, currently there are skins, which is that third ski from the top. And that is a similar texture. There's a grip on it that doesn't require you to wax the kick area. However, and those are a little bit speedier than the traditional fish scales. So more and more folks are moving towards that. Now, if you have already done your classic skiing and you're ready to kind of take it up a notch, maybe try for some racing, or you want a little bit of a different ski experience, then you might move to waxless skis. And those are skis where you, dependent on the weather, wax your ski to achieve the grip. And that is its own 45-minute presentation. But that is definitely an option. And you wax dependent on the weather. And there's a lot of science and physics involved in determining your kick. But that is also an option. And many people enjoy waxing their own skis, and sort of what it allows you to do is have an experience more tailored for the snow conditions. And you go just a little bit faster than if you're on fish scales or skins. And again, this is all dependent on weight transfer. So really, even if you have the skis in the basement that you've had for 20 years, you will have a lovely experience on those, but you'll have a really good experience if you have a ski that fits your weight for classic skiing. Now for skate skiing, the waxing is less tricky, even though it is a little bit trickier to master. But skate skiing requires a skate deck. So there's a picture for you. I'm sure you've all seen these. They're next to the class when a course is groomed. The skate deck typically is adjacent to the tracks. In this instance, if you're going skate skiing, you're going to look for a trail report that refers to conditions as groomed, which is ideal. Though sometimes when there's low snow, they'll just pack the skate deck. So if it says packed, that's fine. It'll be a good skate experience. If it says packed and groomed, then it's going to be a really great experience. Skate skis are a little less technical in that you only wax them for gliding. And again, this is a little bit of extra work. This could be its whole own presentation. But essentially, the entire ski glides. You're not creating propulsion through kick. So you wax them for the temperature of the day, or if you're me, you wax them at the beginning of the season and never again. But your glide is much improved if they're waxed for the conditions. Freestyle technique allows for a bit more flexibility in the ski fitting because really you're waltzing across the ski trails. But again, you want a ski that fits your weight. And again, it is like a little bit trickier to learn, but once you've mastered skate skiing, it is incredibly enjoyable and allows for a bit more speed and a little bit more flexibility when you're taking corners. And we are just seeing it, as I said, gain increasingly popularity. My dress for success portion is pretty similar to Carly's around snowshoeing. I mean, you just have to dress like most Minnesotans understand you do in layers for the experience. Cross-country skiing, similar to snowshoeing and even more so, is an aerobic activity. So you are gonna get much warmer than you think that you're going to be. So I just always tell people that if you're a little bit chilly when you start, you're at the right place. You want to start out just a little cold because you will get warm and you will sweat. And so again, just like Carly said, no cotton. Just make sure you have a base layer of long underwear, something that wicks away the moisture. Wool socks are essential. I can't say it enough. Your toesies will thank you, and they should fit pretty snugly so you don't get blisters, because again, you're really using those feet. They're doing a lot of work for you and they're moving around in the boot. A hat, obviously. I am wearing my ski hat. I could have changed hats 20 times during this presentation because I have so many of them, but they are completely necessary, obviously. And then gloves. So, when you're cross-country skiing, you are going to be grasping the pole through a strap, of course. And this can be a little bit difficult to do in mittens, even though that's usually folks' preferred option for warmth. I do encourage people to look for lobster gloves, which are options. I encourage people to put liners in their gloves. That can help. And then, of course, I almost never leave the house without some hand warmers inside of my gloves. For those of us who spend a lot of time outdoors, our hands tend to get a little ruined early on. But I do encourage folks to think about gloves or lobster gloves because mittens, particularly if you're going to be doing it for an extended amount of time, can make the experience of trying to grip and maneuver the pole just a little bit difficult. And then just like Carly said, and I didn't include on the slide, but bring water, bring snacks. This is an incredibly aerobic activity. You burn a lot of calories, and it's always great to just make sure you have on your body somewhere a little bit of an extra snack, and always water, because as Carly mentioned, you get dehydrated pretty easily and you don't even realize it's happening. And plus it's just really fun to stop on the trail and have a snack. So can't stress that enough. So now you're all dressed up, you got your equipment, like where are you gonna go? Well, as I said in the beginning, Minnesota offers ample opportunities for skiing. So the state parks, regional parks, we here at the Loppet, we groom Theodore Wirth Park and then several golf courses as well as the chain of lakes. So really, if you're in the metro area in particular, you can ski somewhere really beautifully or somewhere really beautiful in a very short distance from your home. So first thing I encourage people to do is visit the incredible website skinnyski.com. Skinny Ski is an excellent resource. It was probably the original crowdsourcing. This website's been up for 20 years, and people report on the trail conditions around the region, not just in Minnesota. And so if you check those trail reports, pretty much anywhere that you might want to ski, you'll see a firsthand report of how the trail conditions are. And then, of course, that is then linked to the ski area itself and provides you maps, and you can easily download them. So again, if you're going to plan a cross-country ski outing, visit skinnyski.com first. They have weather updates. It's fantastic. Then our very own Department of Natural Resources just has great updates on trail conditions. You will need a state ski pass to ski in the state parks. But I really encourage folks to go visit a state park near you. And when you go right now on the website, they have a nice little snowflake that you can click, and it will tell you again if it's groomed, if it's tracked, if it has skating available. It will tell you what the most recent kind of fair to good conditions are. And I encourage people to go, really, I mean, unless it just says poor and don't come, because even if there's a little bit, you can have a pretty successful ski outing. If you live in the metro, the Three Rivers Park District is also well worth a visit. They're throughout the metro area, and they do a great job of grooming. And again, you just check their website. They list all of the trail conditions. Most of the parks have warming huts and places to rent skis. And then I encourage anybody to visit us here at the Loppet and Theodore Wirth Park. As I said, we groom about 40 kilometers of ski trails in the city, and then we also groom some neighboring city parks. And we also require a ski pass, as does the Three Rivers Park District. So please, I ask you, if you're going to go cross-country skiing, think about purchasing a pass. It is not inexpensive to upkeep trails, particularly that require grooming, and in some areas where we are making snow to provide a ski experience. As we experience more and more climate change and our winters are more and more threatened, more and more areas are making snow, and that is an expensive endeavor. So please consider purchasing a ski pass to support cross-country skiing in your area. And now it's winter 2022, so you've got to get inspired and get ready to get out there. So that's our very own hometown hero, Jessie Diggins. And we're going to cheer her on at the Olympics. So that's one easy thing you can do without even leaving your couch. But I would really encourage you, if you're a skier, you know, check out a new trail. There's so many options in the Twin Cities, and it's easy to get kind of in your rut, or in the state rather. So make sure that you get out, try a new trail this winter. Take a lesson. Even if you're an experienced cross-country skier, lessons can really help increase your enjoyment of your experience. And we offer lessons, Three Rivers offers lessons. You can find a lesson, and I just can't encourage you enough to do that. And then if you've been a classic skier all your life, maybe think about trying skating. It's really fun, and it's a great new way to enjoy cross-country skiing. And then can we just say cheer Jesse on again? The Olympics start on
Go
Saturday.
Jesse.
Go Jesse! And then finally, just a little plug for the Loppet. So we are really committed to diversifying the sport of cross-country skiing and to spreading the passion that we have for sharing the outdoors. So our focus is in particular on youth and getting them out on skis and bikes and camping and paddling. As I said, we groom over 40 kilometers of trails in the city, and then we operate the Trailhead, which is in Theodore Wirth Park. And that's an access point for cross-country skiing, for tubing, for snowboarding, fat tire biking. You can certainly snowshoe here. You can hike here. You can bird here. If you haven't visited us, please do. And you can learn more at loppet.org. We're going to have a free snow play day on February 26th, so you can come rent a pair of skis for free. The passes will be free that day. You get a free lesson if you're just itching now to try out cross-country skiing. And then this weekend, if you're in the metro area, we're hosting our Winter Festival, which is 30 different events throughout the weekend. There's skijoring and racing, cross-country ski racing, fat tire bike racing, snowshoe races, and then the Luminary Loppet on Saturday night on Lake of the Isles. So if you are, if you have been cross-country skiing for a while and you've mastered some of the basics, I really encourage you to try a race. It's really fun. You can just do a short 5K and kind of test your ability and also get a sense of what that feels like. And I always encourage people to take a chance at racing because it's really fun. But mostly I just encourage everybody to get outside and enjoy this beautiful winter.
I would second. I actually just sold a mountain bike from one of my girls to another eighth grader that's going to use it, and I'm like, just find a place to go mountain biking, join a club, a race circuit, or something, and that is the best way to meet people that enjoy it and to learn a lot and to force yourself to get outside. So I've had the good fortune, so everybody knows, to meet Claire and Carly and go snowshoeing and cross country skiing here just in the last couple of weeks, and they're phenomenal experiences. So I would second both of you that we live up here in this crazy place of Minnesota that gets lots of snow and it's cold for 6 months out of the year, and if we don't get outside and enjoy it, you know, I don't know why you live here, I guess. So, but it's great to get outside, and I'm always reminded of the Inuits have like 50 words to describe snow. And both of you talked a little bit about snow conditions being light and fluffy and stuff. And snowshoeing and cross country skiing are great ways to get outside and just experience some of what those words might be: punky snow, or mashed potatoes, or real hard icy snow, or soft snow and fluffy snow. It's great. So I would encourage everybody. We got a ton of people on the show here today, but please put your questions in the Q&A section. I have a few that have popped up in the chat. I've been trying to answer those. Um, and Carly, I got a couple or Claire, excuse me. I knew I'd get you guys mixed up. One of them was East Metro area to rent skis and do lessons. I think Lake Elmo does at their Nordic Center, but I'm not positive on that. And also the other one that I've been curious about, I've actually done it myself, but you might have a better answer than I would. Is it crazy? Marilyn was asking if it's crazy to experiment with skate skiing with her classic setup.
Yes.
So I think we've all done it, but
It's not crazy. And you actually you can get a little bit of glide, but it will trip you up slightly. You won't get the full experience. And then for the East Metro, I would also say Como Park has lessons and rentals. And that's another great sort of introductory. And Lake Elmo as well, obviously.
I always forget about Como Park. That's a good one. And I think we have so many great, we live in the land of 10,000 lakes. There's so many great places to go out on lakes and rivers in this state in the winter. If you got classic skis and just want to get out for a little bit and explore some territory or snowshoes to do that. So
I'm seeing a question here about website auctions to get decent used skis and boots. I'll just say Skinny Ski again is a great option. Check that website. They often have sort of a used buy and sell area. But then also at the beginning of each season, the Minnesota Youth Ski League does a really great ski swap. So if you check their website, that's a good place to go and either swap skis or find some new used.
great. And Carly, do you know of any or I think I found one online. I might have linked it in the chat there about state parks that rent snowshoes and cross country skis. I know there's more of them that do snowshoes and skis, but
Yeah, so um, I don't have the list up in front of me, but there are quite a few state parks that do offer or rent snowshoes. You probably, I guess, I would call the state park, specifically that particular park you're going to tell them that you would like to rent the snowshoes in advance, just so that they will, make sure their office doors are open, because with the limited staff during the winter, sometimes they're juggling the two staff that are operating the building. And so just to, give them a heads up that you'd like to rent them and what day or time you're gonna show up, and they'll for sure, get those snowshoes out or ready for you. Jay Cooke State Park does rent the snowshoes. We rent them for $6 a day. But like I said, if you're going, snowshoeing as part of one of the naturalist programs, then there is no fee for that. Um, and for cross country skiing, there used to be more parks that rented skis, but I think that the only park that I know of anyway is Wild River State Park. I think they still rent skis. Um, so there's not a whole lot of parks for that, but you can certainly rent them at other outdoor suppliers. I know in Duluth there's at least a couple stores that will rent skis or snowshoes out as well.
I think that's the same down here in the cities. There's plenty of places to rent stuff if you want. It's great.
Yeah.
Catherine had a question about accessing the recording of this webinar, and I put a link to that in there. But if you go to the Minnesota DNR website and just in the little search bar, write outdoor skills, it'll pop up and you'll be able to get a recording of this webinar there. Probably next week, we'll get that up for you. So, and just as I'll call it our awesome planning, but next week in the Moss program, we have a winter camping talk. So it kind of goes hand in hand, getting out and cross country skis. I've done a lot of cross country ski trips and snowshoe trips up in the Boundary Waters, doing some winter camping. And these are great activities to enjoy winter just around your local area and around home. And also to get out winter camping in your state parks or state forest or other areas like the Boundary Waters. It's great to get out and do some of this stuff. So everybody can tune in next week for a little more some tips and tricks on winter camping and how to stay warm and places to go. So trying to look through the chat there and see if we have any other get a good luck with the Loppet this weekend, Claire.
Thank you so much. I hope you all come out and see us.
We had somebody wrote in the chat there too. Oakdale Nature Center also rents skis, I think, and Nye Nature Center out in Henderson they think they have skis and snowshoes out there. So don't see any other questions. So either of you had any other closing comments or questions for the end of the show here?
There's still a lot of winter left, so lots of opportunity to get your feet out in those snowflakes.
Hope to see y'all on the trails.
Yeah, hope to see everybody out there. And Jeff put in there Tamarack Nature Center in White Bear Township rents skis too, I believe. So get out, enjoy the winter. We're the Minnesota Outdoor Skills and Stewardship Series. We always like to plug the stewardship part. So if you're out there, make sure you pick up after yourself. If you see other stuff out there that doesn't belong there, pick that up and bring that back with you too. My girls had a great time skiing out at the Loppet and snowshoeing up with you, Carly, up there, and both of them were surprised at, they come out as typical kids do. They either don't wear their jacket ever to school, or they dress up with everything in their closet, right? So both of them started out going, "Oh, it's cold out," and ended up going, "Oh, it's really warm." So it takes a little while to figure out the clothing and what you're going to wear and do, and you get better as time goes. So I'm actually, one of them is coming down to Play It Again Sports type store down here, and we're going to look for some cross country skis today. So I'm kind of excited about that. But again, thank you to both of you, Carly from Jay Cooke and Claire from the Loppet Foundation, for joining us today and putting on such great and sharing such great information about some of our natural resources, and giving some great ideas for people to get out there and enjoy the rest of winter. Before we know it, spring will come, and then we'll have to figure out something else to do. So thanks. And thanks everybody for joining us. So hopefully we'll see you next week. All right, I'm going to end the recording and we'll pop to the back room here.